Madeline was an independent thinker, and she was actually quite liberated for a woman who was born in 1923. But when it came to Quentin, she believed it was her wifely duty to keep him fed, comfortable, and happy. So her advice to me growing up was always, all you have to do is love a man and be good to him and take care of him, and he will take care of you. I don't have nearly enough time to go down that rabbit hole and discuss the fallacies in Madeline's philosophy on marriage, but I will say this. Their relationship worked for both of them. A little better for Quentin than Madeline, perhaps, because even though she found ways to take care of herself through their 5+ decades of marriage, she always put his needs, comfort, and happiness ahead of her own. And if she did something that made him unhappy, like leaving him home alone, she felt guilty about it. So, if you identify with Madeline even a little bit, let's take a closer look at guilt and see how we can overcome this. Now, the dictionary defines guilt as a sense of having done something wrong or having failed in an obligation. I think it's a cruel and controlling emotion which is often unwarranted and undeserved, and one that is experienced way too often by most caregivers. So as we go through this session, I'd like for you to be thinking about the source of your guilt. Is it internal? Are you guilt-tripping yourself? Or is it external? Are you dealing with one or more guilt trippers? Guilt trippers are everywhere. They come in every shape and size. And your guilt tripper could be your care receiver. It might be a sibling or a spouse, a parent or a child. It could even be a friend. These are individuals who use anger, accusations, sadness, or helplessness to manipulate others and get what they want. So here are a few things you need to know about guilt trippers. If they know that they can get what they want by making you feel guilty, they will not back off. They will never say, take a break, take care of yourself, or don't worry about me. They have developed remarkable emotional manipulation skills that make them experts when it comes to making you feel terrible when you make a mistake, or totally responsible for things that are not your responsibility. Now, before we go any further, there are a few things about guilt that I would like to make perfectly clear. First, if you intentionally inflict physical or emotional pain on another person, you should feel guilty. That is the appropriate emotional response. However, if in a moment of frustration you lost your temper, said something awful that you wish you could take back, or if you didn't do something that you had promised to do because you ran out of time or energy, forgive yourself quickly and move on, knowing that you will have an opportunity to do better later today or tomorrow. Secondly, please accept the fact that perfection is not a realistic goal for any caregiver. If your care receiver is living with a progressive disease, the disease will progress and you will make mistakes. That's just a given. Medical complications will pop up. You won't always recognize what's happening, and there will be times when you make the wrong call. Now, if your care receiver is a guilt tripper, they will demand more and more from you as their disease progresses. You might find yourself taking on the responsibility for all of their needs, including their business affairs, their health care, and they may expect you to be managing their emotions and keeping them happy. So if you get to that point, you could end up putting all of their needs, wants, and wishes ahead of yours. And then if you have family members who criticize your decisions or actions and continually make you feel like you are falling short or doing something wrong, you could get caught up in a repetitive cycle of anger and resentment, followed by guilt, which could easily lead to depression. So can we all agree that none of this is fair or deserved? I think we can. I hope so. So now let's talk about how you can identify a guilt tripper. What are the behaviors? Well, if something happens to you, good or bad, and they always think first about how it's going to affect them, pretty certain you're dealing with a guilt tripper. For example, let's say you got a promotion at work. Wonderful. Are they interested in a new job and what you're going to be doing, or did they respond more like this? Well, good for you. I suppose that means your work is going to become even more demanding, and now you'll have even less time for me. Or let's say you have to have a hip replacement. Are they interested in how this is going to affect you, or are they more likely to say, oh, that's terrible. You're going to be laid up for what, 6, 8 weeks? That means you won't be able to mow my grass, right? It's going to get thigh high. You won't be able to drive either. That means I'm going to be stuck at home like forever. This is really inconvenient for me. And then there's the person who attacks you when you ask them to pitch in and help. So when you say, I need to take a break, their response might be, what? You need a break? You want to take a 2-week vacation and you expect me to drop everything and take care of Mom? Are you kidding me? I wish I could just call you and say I need a 2-week vacation from my work, my kids, and my life, and then expect you to just show up at my house and take over. Well, that's just crazy. What are you thinking? So that's the counterattacker, a guilt tripper. If any of these situations sound familiar, I think this might be a great time to reevaluate your relationship with guilt and with your guilt trippers. I'd like for you to start by becoming aware of the people and situations that are causing you to feel guilty. Write them down. Next, examine if these feelings are self-imposed or if they are being imposed upon you by someone else. And then I would like for you to accept that guilt is an appropriate emotional response if you intentionally inflict physical or emotional pain on another person. It is not an appropriate response when somebody is trying to control your actions or manipulate your emotions to get you to do what they want. I hope this makes sense to you. In the next session, we're going to start talking about how to stop feeling guilty when you haven't done anything wrong. I hope that when you start employing this strategy, like me, you will feel like you have been set free. See you soon.